Banana cream pie is the perfect combination of creamy pudding and crunchy crust with fresh bananas and whipped cream. It's absolutely delicious. Hi, I'm Dorothy, and today we are making banana cream pie completely from scratch. Now this pie is completely from scratch. There are some semi-homemade hacks that you can use, which we will talk about as we go. To start off this pie, you need a pie crust, and you need to make sure that it is blind baked. So I have my pie crust. It's in a 9-inch pie plate right here. I already have baked and cooled it. So that's really important. You need to make sure that your pie crust is completely cool before you add your pudding. So this is just my all butter pie crust, which I will link that video. It's super simple to make. I use a food processor. This is where you could use a semi-homemade hack. If you want to use a frozen pie crust or one of those refrigerated ones from the store, that's totally fine. We're making a from scratch vanilla pudding for this. So we're going to start by whisking our sugar mixture. I have 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, and to that I'm going to add 1/4 cup of cornstarch and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I like to whisk this before I start, just because that way it's all incorporated before I add my milk. Now making pudding can be kind of slow and fast work. So while we're waiting for it to thicken, it's gonna take a little bit of time, but we're also gonna be stuck to the stove stirring and all of that. So you wanna make sure and have all of your ingredients ready to go. So this is an egg-based pudding. So I have 2 large eggs in this bowl right here, and I'm just going to whisk them just to kind of mix them together and beat them so that the yolks are a little bit incorporated with the whites. And that way, once the pudding gets going and I'm ready to temper my eggs, they are all ready to go. Or just a light whisk or a stir just to break up those yolks, and we're gonna set that aside. Now I'm going to add my dry ingredients into my pan. Add 3 cups of whole milk. Now I'm gonna stir that together. You can also use a whisk to help dissolve it. I'm just gonna stir that together, and now I'm going to put this over kind of medium heat. I'm just going to stir until all that sugar is incorporated. I'm just gonna stir almost continuously until it thickens, and that's gonna take about 7 to 8 minutes, depending on the heat of your stove. So you just wanna stir it. You don't wanna walk away. You don't wanna leave it alone. It will scorch really easily. If you're not stirring it, you're gonna get that stuck to the bottom of the pan, and then you're gonna get lumps, and you don't want that. So you just wanna keep stirring. Now, this is just a basic vanilla pudding, which is great because you can use this really for anything you want. You could use this in a vanilla pie. You could use this just because you want vanilla pudding. Really, it's good for anything. Making pudding can be kind of boring because we're just sitting here, but put on a podcast or some music and just kind of keep stirring until it thickens. As you're cooking it and stirring, make sure that you're scraping the bottom of the pan while you're cooking. And you'll notice, once it starts to thicken, you're gonna notice a change, and it's gonna change quite rapidly. Now you can see when I do the back of the spoon test, it stays when I rub my finger down the spoon. So that means it is thick enough. So I'm going to turn the heat to lower. And now what I'm gonna do is we're gonna temper our eggs. So this is where you have to work fast. So we're going to add, while we're whisking in this other bowl, I'm gonna pour a little bit of this mixture into it and keep whisking. We're gonna switch and whisk it in here, like so. Get all of that egg mixture in there. And then whisk it just to make sure. So it's very kind of quick work when you're doing this. You might get a little bit of pudding mixture everywhere, but that's all right. You're gonna bring it to a boil and then cook it for 2 minutes. We're going to add 3 tablespoons of butter. You wanna make sure that it's a little bit softened and sliced so it melts faster. And then a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now I always strain my pudding. I don't want any little bits of cooked egg to be in that pudding mixture, or your pie will taste like scrambled eggs, which you do not want. So we're going to strain it through a fine mesh strainer like this. You can get these on Amazon or any store. Get it all, and you can see in the bottom of this strainer there are some bits of cooked egg in there, and so we just want, and there's probably also maybe some of that cornstarch didn't dissolve all the way. You don't want any of that in your pie. So I'm just gonna take my spatula here to get it all off the bottom. Don't use your spoon because your spoon was in the top of it. You don't want to cross-contaminate it. Now, quick tip for when you're letting your pudding cool, whether you're gonna do it on the counter, maybe you're gonna make the pie tomorrow, whatever you wanna do. You know how sometimes when you cool pudding, it gets that film on the top or like a skin? To avoid the skin, we're going to use wax paper, or you could use plastic wrap, but I'm gonna use wax paper today. And I'm gonna take a sheet of wax paper, and I'm going to press this down on top of the pudding until it touches the top. And now I have it all on top of there, and I'm gonna let that sit until it's fully cool before I make my pie. Normally when you use bananas in baking, like if you're making banana bread or banana cake, you want to use the bananas that are very overripe, very brown spotted. For a pie, you don't want to use them that are like that. You want to use just a normal banana that you would eat. So not really green, not too many brown spots, just like a normal yellow banana. And I'm gonna slice these into thin slices, about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Now adding the banana is kind of a choose your own adventure, because you can add as little or as much banana as you like. All right, so I have my sliced banana. I have an extra one over here just in case. Bananas are all different sizes, and so sometimes I use 2, sometimes I use 3, so just have a couple extra. So I have bananas sliced, and I whipped my fresh whipped cream. I will link my video for how to do that. I just took a cup of heavy whipping cream, 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla. Just whipped it until stiff peaks formed. So it's kind of like this. It'll stick on the spatula. I'm going to add it to a pastry bag filled with a 1M tip, and that is, I'm gonna pipe it onto the top of the pie. And what I'm going to do first is I'm gonna layer some bananas in the bottom of my pie crust. I like to do them in a single layer. All right, so let's add half of our pudding on top of the bananas in our pie. Spread that out. Make sure to go all the way to the edges so those bananas are completely covered. That'll help the air not turn them brown as fast. I'm gonna add 1 more banana in here. Now again, if you don't love banana as much, like you just want a little bit of chopped banana, you can skip this layer. And now we'll add the rest of our pudding on top. Now you could put whipped cream all over the top if you want. I am just gonna do dollops around the edges. And to get it even, I do it in kind of a clock pattern to try and get it as even as possible. And then I just fill in around the edges. You could also decorate this with some slices of banana if you want. And we have our banana cream pie. Look how gorgeous it is. It's going to taste amazing. All right, let's have a taste of our banana cream pie. You can see it's so delicious looking, perfect layers. I'm so excited to try it. Look how delicious this looks. Oh my gosh, let's have a taste. That's the happy pie dance. It's got a crunchy crust, the bananas, and that pudding. This is the best banana cream pie ever. You're going to love it. If you don't follow me already, be sure to subscribe to my channel and keep watching for even more pie recipes. Now I'm gonna eat this one.
Bye.